Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Nick Saban Show, presented by Alpha Insurance. For auto, home, and life insurance, call Alpha this Saturday. Bama and Mississippi State, coverage at 3, kickoff at 6. Good to be home at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And Coach Nick Saban joins us here at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Hello, Coach. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. I hope everybody else is doing good out there. And I guess we're not having trick-or-treat this year, right?
No, people have accused me of wearing a mask, but I don't think they were talking about that kind of mask. One thing, though, that does look a little different is a special gentleman joining us on the show here. I remember him when he didn't have any gray hair, but he has earned every one of those as one of the best players collegiately. 11 years in the National Football League, a couple of Super Bowl appearances, All-Pro. He's done it all. Roman Harper is our special media guest from the SEC Network and a longtime Crimson Tide favorite. Good to see you, Roman. How are you, man?
How you doing, Eli? I'm doing well. Hey, Coach, how you doing? I'm
doing great, Roman. How are you?
Just
good.
Kind of keep up with you guys, keeping the kids out.
Yeah. I remember this guy when he was in high school.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
He was was he one of the best then? Because look at what he's done.
One of the best.
Yeah.
And I tried to convince him that coming to our school, where I was at the time, when I won't mention, that it's the only place he could go where the safeties were held in higher esteem than the quarterback.
Really?
Because that's what I coached.
There you go, of course. Of course. Let's talk about, Roman, do you remember those recruiting days with Coach Saban?
Yes, man, it was so long ago, but, you know, at the end of the day, that's one thing that Nick always has on me, and he never lets me forget about it, is that, hey, you know, I win the second round, but he always like, you know, if you'd have played for me, you'd went first. Just let you know that. So he makes sure he lets me know that every time we have a conversation, usually on the golf course or whatever, but he always just kind of throws that out there to me.
But, you know, that tells you what you did as an NFL player is what every college player should really understand. It doesn't really matter where you get drafted. It's what you do with the opportunity that you get when you get drafted. And you played for 11 years, and you were one of the best safeties in the game for all that time. And really, based on your career, you should have been a first-round draft pick based on your productivity in your career. So, but I think it's a great lesson that it's not, you know, everybody wants to be a first-round draft pick, but it's not really where you get drafted. It's what you do with the opportunity after you get drafted.
And Roman's been out of college now a lot of years, and you're still 6th all-time in Alabama tackles. I mean, you put up some really gaudy numbers.
Well, half of that, Eli, is everybody's on the 3-and-out plan in college now. They don't stay 4 years like I did. I redshirted. I was there for 5 years, so I played all my years. And, you know, and what Coach was saying earlier, I just kind of piggyback on that, is that a couple years ago, he talked about when guys leave early that, you know, he encourages them all to go. When you're going to get drafted, go, because that's what you're doing this for. But understanding that when they draft you higher, they are investing more into you, that it's not good just to leave early to go to the middle or the later rounds just to say you're in the NFL, because it's not about just making a splash. It's about a longevity and having a legit career at this. And the only way to do that is to be there more than 4 years, to be there and sign that second or that third contract in the NFL. That is how you build wealth, and also for your family and your lineage, but also the you know, it kind of builds on that dash after your name.
Well, and that's really what I try to convince our players of, and I think, Roman, you're making a great point. You know, it's all about business. You know, it's a business decision when you decide to go in the NFL, and it's all about value, where you get drafted, how high you get picked, how much money they invest in you, and guaranteed money really is what your stability becomes. They won't cut you because they paid you all this money in advance. So to be a 3rd-round pick or a 4th-round pick and not stay in school, not try to get an education, which your education is all about what you're going to do when you can't play football anymore. So, you know, all those things become very, very critical business decisions. And unfortunately, there's a lot of guys that make emotional decisions because they grew up their whole life wanting to go out and play in the NFL. All right, so now they get this little inkling of a chance to do it, and rather making a good business decision and continuing to create value for themselves in their future, they jump and do something which, doesn't really pay long-term dividends for him.
Yeah. Before we zero in on this season, Coach, one other question. It has to do with Roman, who was a captain of a Super Bowl winning team. In addition to everything else he did in actual physicality on the field. What makes, in your mind, a good captain? Is it more playing ability? Is it more leadership ability? Is there an equation there between the two? What?
Well, I think the number one thing that makes a good captain is how do the other players on your team respect you?
Yeah.
What kind of respect do they have for you? And I think that's one of the ultimate ways that your teammates can show you their respect is, and that respect is not just about what kind of player you are. I think they have to respect what kind of player you are, but they respect, how you play. Are you going out there to be the best player you can be, and are you setting a good example every day, being somebody that somebody can emulate? Are you having any impact on other people around you because you care enough to help them for their benefit rather than your benefit? I think all those things are something that people really respond to and respect. And I think people that do that and they are good players and they can respect how they compete, those are the guys that make great captains. And, everything I've ever heard about Roman, he was a damn good one.
Exactly. Well, Roman, now that you're on the SEC network and a member of the media, why don't we let you open up the formal portion of the show with you don't need to leave. with the first with the first question for Coach Saban. What's on your mind?
One thing, Coach, I'll start off with this area. One thing I've got to know about you, I feel like I've gotten to know you over the years and build our relationship, is that I really appreciate how much you just are kind of in the moment. You never really leave that. You're always there. You're always very present, no matter where you are. Even last week when we heard about the Waddle news, how sad that was, you were like, he maybe wouldn't have left out of the end zone, something like that. But see, you understand how his greatness is that you allow that flexibility as a player. When did you learn about that? How I have stay in the moment, but understanding and respecting that. My best players, sometimes I just got to let them have that freedom to make these decisions. And that sometimes the best plays that happen are not the ones that I coached or designed.
Well, I think that when you have really good players and guys that can make plays, I call it overcoaching. You try to put the guy in the best position by what you teach him how to do, whether it's how to run a route, how to get open, how to cover a guy, what his eye control is if he's playing defense, whatever you're trying to coach him to do. But time and time again, players sort of do that to some degree, and then they are naturally instinctive in terms of how they break on the ball. And there's so many instinctive things that players have to do, whether it's the catch that they make, how they break a route at the top of the route and cut the defender off. Playing defensive back, a coach can teach you how to swat and hook. He can teach you how to cover a guy, but when the ball's coming, he can't tell you whether to intercept it, swat and hook it, or break down and tackle the guy. I mean, you kind of figure that out on your own. I always use the baseball analogy. You can teach a guy how to swing a bat. You can teach him what the strike zone is, but you can't teach him whether it's a good pitch to hit or not from the time it leaves the pitcher's hand and gets to home plate. He got to figure that part out on his own. All right, so, and I think great players have great instincts, and they make the right decisions as to what's the best opportunity to make a play. But, I will say this, and we give our players latitude to do that. All right, but then sometimes, a player can be so anxious to make a play that they can actually try to make a play when there's a play not there. All right, and that can put them in harm's way. Quarterback can scramble when the receiver fell down and there's really no play to make, and maybe you'd be better off throwing the ball away rather than taking a big hit. Bringing the ball out 4 or 5 yards deep in the end zone when the guy's got a 5-0 hang time on it. I mean, your chances of making a play in that situation are not great. And when it's a middle return and you bounce it, that's not good. All right, so, but
I didn't know all that was compounded. Now I know where you were coming from.
All right, so, you want to give players latitude to make plays, all right, which we do. But we also want them to make good choices and decisions about what creates the opportunity for this. You know, you're going to have a much better opportunity to make a good play in certain circumstances. Now, everybody's got to execute and do their job. And if we'd have executed and done our job better on that first play as a kickoff return unit, maybe nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate thing. But, you know, Jalen Waddle is a phenomenal player, a phenomenal competitor. You know, he's one of those guys that's Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. They can make plays when nobody else can make that same play. And he's one of those kind of guys. And one thing that he does, or he gave us, is he can take the top off the defense, and you know what I mean by that. And, you know, we put him in a lot of positions to get him isolated on the safeties, all right? And, you know how that goes. You know, that's tough cover, all right, when for a safety. And so we're going to miss that, no doubt. But you hate to see it. You know, it's just 2 years in a row we lost a great player who was probably the most popular player on the team. It just, in terms of being a good teammate and being liked by his teammates, you know, Tua was that way last year, you know, and Jalen's that way this year, and you just hate it for him because they're such great competitors, and they mean so much to their team and their teammates, and you know, I actually pray for them, I have to admit.
Sure. Do these world-class athletes, do they say, why me? I mean, do they, obviously we saw as they were taking Jalen to the locker room, he was banging his fist on the golf cart. Understandable, totally. Do these guys say, why me, like us normal folks might, or is there a different mentality there?
I've never, ever, you know, heard that. I mean, I don't think anybody feels worse about getting injured than the player who got injured.
Sure.
Because they obviously have to live with it. It's difficult. It's hard work for them to come back rehab-wise. They love to play. They're great competitors. Now that's been taken away from them. But I don't really think that. I think what you have to do is look at the positive side of it. You know, it was a successful surgery. This is not going to have a long-term impact on his career.
Sure.
He's created tremendous value for himself. He's going to have a great career down the road, you know, as a football player. Now he just got to focus on, you know, we have to focus on the hand that's dealt us sometimes. And ability to overcome adversity is always critical to being successful. Our team has had to overcome it. Jalen's going to have to overcome it now based on the circumstance that he's in. And we're going to have to overcome some too because we're going to miss him. But I think in the long run, he's got a pretty positive attitude. I think you get over that pretty quick. You know, you got to kind of say, so what, now what? This is what I have to do now to get back, get healthy, do my rehab. He had a very successful surgery, and I don't think he'll have any long-term effects from this.
Wonderful. Forrest all in the slot left. Here's Mack on the give. Robinson breaks tackles up the middle. Hard running. He is in. Touchdown, Alabama. Behind Leatherwood and Ekiyor and his own determination. Brian Robinson with a rushing touchdown, his second of the year. Crimson Tide's Brian Robinson, the senior from here in Tuscaloosa. And yeah, he had good blocking, Coach Saban, but his determination really seemed to be the difference in that play.
Well, I think our offensive line did a really good job up there. I think they played better and better each week. And, but I think our runners have done a really good job of pressing the hole, running behind their pads, and making the plays go. So it takes a combination of both of those things to have a successful running game. But B-Rob has done a nice job for us. Najee Harris has done a nice job for us. And, you know, hopefully our younger backs will get some opportunities down the road here too, because we think they have some potential as well.
They got lots of talent. Right now, time for our first phone call of the night. As always, it comes from Grand Bay, Alabama. Pee Wee is joining us. And folks, remember, when you are doing some digging around the house, first thing you need to do is contact 811 to know what's below. Call 811 or visit al811.com. Pee Wee, welcome in. How did you survive Hurricane Zeta down your way? You okay?
Yeah, we're doing good. Just had a bunch more limbs and stuff come down. I just pretty much got everything picked up from Sally, and now we get another whammy. I think it's like our 6th or 7th or 8th hurricane this year with another one brewing down there. So it's the same old, same old.
What's
Coach, how you doing, sir?
What's going on tonight, Pee Wee?
Well, I kind of wanted to go off of what y'all have already been talking about. With the injury to Jalen, that has when that happens, everybody is affected, whether you're a fan, a player, a coach, and surely that our team was affected by when this happened. But as you were saying, everybody kind of pulled together, especially on the offensive end, and started playing good, starting off with the long pass to Mechie. And then it just kind of seemed to me that the defense would respond to the offense, and then when the defense made a good play, got us the ball back, the offense responded, and they kind of played off each other for the rest of the game. I was just wondering, is that something that y'all kind of noticed when you looked at the film this week?
Well, I was really pleased with the way our players sort of, I think the energy they went out and played the game with to start with. We kind of told them in the locker room, when you play up here, it's kind of like us against the world, and we all need to support each other, and our players have to be very, very energetic and spirited in terms of whether you're playing or whatever your role is on the team to support your teammates. And so I think that when that happened on the first play of the game, it just kind of fed right into it. But, I didn't really feel like, look, everybody felt bad, don't get me wrong. But I really felt like the guys that stepped up did a fantastic job. And Slade Bolden did a really good job, but there were a lot of other guys in a lot of other circumstances that filled in the situations too. And I think that's what you have to do. The next guy has to step up. You have to be positive. You have to move forward. You have to look forward. And I thought our players did a really, really good job of that, in the game as an entire team. So I was really pleased about that. And interesting that you bring it up, but I was really pleased.
Definitely. Pee Wee, glad you're doing okay, and thanks for your call. And let's go back to Roman Harper, our special media guest joining us from the SEC Network. What else is on your mind tonight, Roman?
Well, I'm going to start where my eyes always go to naturally, and Coach is going to really give me the answer I'm looking for. And that is, Coach, when I've seen the defense really improve, especially the last 6 quarters of football that you guys have played. Can you just kind of go into detail about how you're feeling the play of your safeties have been this year? Everybody talks about every other position in your defense. I want to hear about you and your opinion of your safety so far this year.
Well, I think first of all, we're playing with all inexperienced players inside. We have a freshman playing star. We have 2 new safeties playing. Neither one of them played much last year. Patrick Surtain is the only guy that has a lot of experience. Josh Jobe has a little bit of experience at corner. But I think our corners have actually played halfway decent in the game. We haven't given up a lot of plays, and we put a lot of pressure on those guys in terms of how they've had to cover. We don't play a lot of soft coverage where it's easy for them. But the safety play has not, we've not tackled really well. Had a lot of missed tackles. We made some poor adjustments. We played the ball poorly on several occasions that gave the other team big plays. But I think that the players are actually learning from all these mistakes, and they're actually improving as we go. So, we're just going to keep coaching them and trying to make them realize what they have to do to be better players. But look, when you have really good safeties on your team, it makes a big difference because they make up for so many. You don't have big play runs. I think 1994 when I was in Cleveland, we were like first in defense in the NFL, and gave up the 5th fewest points in the history of ball. But the 2 safeties that we had, Stephon Moore and Eric Turner, those 2 guys, I don't think we had like half a dozen runs over 12 yards all year long. And it wasn't because the front was so good. It was because every time the front messed up, those two guys made the play. And when we played Houston and they were in a run and shoot and they had 4 Pro Bowl receivers, we were so physical when we played that they didn't want to play, because the safeties were so physical. And so I think sometimes players don't realize the importance of certain things that you have to do that is what makes you a good player. And I think safety is one of the places where you're going to be involved in a lot of plays, and you have to be able to make those plays on a consistent basis if you're going to be a good player at that position. When you play corner, you may have to make 5 plays in a game, and those plays may be really hard to make. But at safety, you may have to make 45 plays or have an opportunity to make a play in half the plays in the game by showing up in the right place and being in the right place, run and pass. So just to get the eye control right, to key the right things and look at the right things has been a real challenge, for us.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be a big thing in this week's game because they're going to pass the ball a lot. They run draws. They run the ball on occasion. But if you don't key the lineman for run pass, you're going to be wrong all the time. All right, so, I mean, just the discipline and eye control, looking at your man when you're playing man-to-man. I mean, just those things in and of itself have been a real problem, but we are getting better. We are getting better as the year goes on, and I think that's why points allowed has come down. All right, and every time there's an explosive play, most of the time the safeties are involved in it.
Roman as a great defensive back safety, just smiling and nodding his head. You understand everything that the coach is saying.
Eli, you have no idea what coach is preaching here. It's so good because I was always taught if your eyes are right, your body will naturally do right because of it, right? You're good. Your eyes are going to take you to where your coverage needs to be. Your eyes are going to take you to where your back pedal or where you need the weave to be. It's just all these things kind of play hand in hand. So when coach is doing this talking, I'm seeing the same thing, and I'm just glad that he's able to say it and say it in a nicer way than I sometimes feel when I'm on my couch watching it, because that's where my natural ability, and that's the first thing I see. And if you know what you're looking at from the safety perspective, you know every defense that's being called, because the safeties have everything to do with it, whether you're rocking and rolling them, where you're playing them in their zone coverage, where their eyes are going, and everything that coach is talking about. When you know a defense, the safety is so important, not only in the run and the pass when he's talking about tackling or in the pass game, but the safeties help everybody get lined up. They're a quarterback back there that has to relay the message to everybody from linebacker to all the corners. They just play such an important factor in it. And I know especially in coach's defense, when he's had dynamic safeties, you feel it, they impact the game in so many different ways. And for me, this is the first time I've seen Alabama with younger, unproven guys, and I want to see how they continue to improve. And I'm just glad that they're able to make these corrections after wins and not losses, because that means you can build up confidence as well.
Right. Well, one of my big pet peeves with the safeties, and I say this all the time, which reinforces everything that you're saying, see a little, see a lot.
That's very true. It's very true.
Because if you see a lot, you don't see anything.
No, you got to have your eyes on your keys, man.
That's right, on your keys.
Usually,
you got it.
Strong safety is that tight end, free safety is that left tackle. In the open side, you got to be able to do it and be slow. It's okay to be slow as a safety sometimes, but when you make that decision, you got to go fast. Be slow to think, be slow to make the decision, but when it goes, you got to go. So, and those are the things that I learned in the NFL, right? And that is how you're able to create longevity and build a career, because you don't make the same mistakes twice. As long as you don't make the same mistake over and over, coach always feels, oh man, well, we can work with this guy. He's not making those same mistakes, coach. He's growing, he's getting better. And you always are steadily improving. And if you can do that for 3 or 4 years in college, that's going to set yourself up, especially at a university like Alabama, where they know you're going to be coached well, you're going to be pushed hard, you're going to play against really good competition. That is what separates Alabama and these other SEC schools. If you can do that for 3 or 4 years and steadily show improvement, and that you still got room to grow, you really can build a long career for yourself.
Right. Roman, what are you doing in the broadcast booth and not on the football field as a coach? You sound like you would do a heck of a job out on the gridiron still.
Hey, I don't want to come be coach's GA in the DB room, okay? I'm just going to stay away from over there. We would not get, no. That's his baby. I let him go, and it's good. It's all right. It's all right.
I hear you. Coach, a question from the Nick Saban Show blog on AL.com. Cole in Katy, Texas says, hey, Coach, howdy from the great state of Texas. I was curious which team or teams that we have played in the past might closely resemble the Mississippi State offense under Coach Mike Leach. Thanks, and roll tide.
Well, they're going to be 4 wideouts most of the game. So, maybe if you remember the old run and shoot kind of offense, since you're in Katy, Texas, that's in Houston, that Houston Oilers used to run. The patterns aren't exactly the same, but the concepts of having, 4 open, spread you out all over the field, sort of be able to try to see what you're in, and then have the best play called against that, like some of these highlights that I think some of the people are seeing from the LSU game. They played some man-to-man. They knew they were playing man-to-man, and man, they were chasing guys all over the field, based on that, and getting picked. So you got to kind of disguise what you're doing, and you can't let them dictate the tempo of the game. I think when you let people do that, you're always on your heels. You have to be aggressive, not necessarily in what you call, but I mean, you can be aggressive if you drop 8 guys in coverage and everybody breaks on the ball and does this great job of tackling and knock the ball off the receiver, and don't let them catch it and run with it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be aggressive, but I think when you let teams like this sort of dictate the tempo of the game, which is really what happened to us at Ole Miss. They were going fast. We got out of sorts, made a lot of mistakes, and they dictated the tempo of the game to our defense, and you just can't allow these kind of teams to do that. So. But they're going to spread us out. They got some really good concepts. The quarterback does a really good job of knowing what you're in, putting the ball in the right place. But we're going to have to do a great job of tackling. We're going to have good eye control and coverage. Everybody's going to have to execute and match the patterns like they need to, whether we're playing zone man-to-man, whatever it is. And we got to do a good job up front of pressuring the quarterback. Pushing the pocket on him, batting balls down, making him feel the presence of the front people around him so it affects his throws.
Billingsley in motion with McMillan leading the blocking. Najee gets the handoff and he runs it into the left side. Touchdown, Alabama. Billingsley with the block on the inside, helped by McMillan. And Najee scores again for the Crimson Tide, his 2nd touchdown of the day. 14 rushing touchdowns on the year for Najee as we welcome you back to the Nick Saban Show, proudly supported by Alpha Insurance. Visit alphainsurance.com and find a local agent for auto, home, and life insurance. Call Alpha. Let's get back to the phone lines at 1-877-202-BAMA. And Linda is joining us from Bremen. Hello, Linda. Welcome to the Nick Saban Show.
Hello, Eli. You know what I think about you. You and I met at McDaniel's Windows and Doors, and you're just top notch.
Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Coach Saban.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm the one that's blind. I just really appreciate how you call it. The Coach Saban.
Yeah, he's on with you.
I'm here.
Coach Saban.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just so nervous. I really appreciate the fact that I am old enough to really appreciate what you do at Alabama, because I was not able. I was too little when Bear was, and I'm really appreciative of what you do for the program.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying that. We have a lot of people on our team who really work hard. All the coaches, our support staff, our athletic staff, our administration here, athletically and as an institution, have all been very, very supportive of, helping us have the kind of program that we have. And helping us sort of institutionally being able to do things that can help our players be more successful in life. Whether it's personal development programs, academic support, great coaching, teaching lessons of life that will help them be more successful from a career development standpoint. So I appreciate you saying that, but I want you to know that there are a lot of people that are responsible for helping us make that happen.
And Coach, that lady said she's old enough to remember Coach Bryant. You are young enough to generate another birthday cake this week.
Wow, that looks good.
It's a beautiful cake that is being shown to the coach here.
It sure is.
It says, "Happy birthday, Coach Saban, COVID 2020, and the picture of you behind your podium at the press conference. You've got the bottle of Coke, and even on the cake, you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, but they have me smiling at the press conference, which is really
That's
kind of
obviously unusual, yeah. But no, that's, but that is really nice, and you've got your birthday coming up on Saturday. And as a matter of fact, we have another question that leads us in. Ladies, thank you so much. And
thank you so much.
that's
I
very
appreciate
nice
that.
of you.
Very thoughtful.
Unfortunately, with the COVID and all, we can't put all the candles on it and bring it up here. Somebody asked on the Nick Saban Show blog, Cindy down in Daphne, since you'll be playing Mississippi State on your birthday, any particular birthday memories, ball games or otherwise, that brings back a smile to you? Thanks, Coach, and Roll Tide. There's a smile right there.
I don't really remember many on my birthday. I think for about the last 12 years, my birthday has been when we had a bye week.
Yeah, it's been the bye week, right.
And I can't even remember past 12 years. But one of the, I guess in the NFL, when you play on Thanksgiving, it's such a big thing. And one of my memories of the first thing that came to mind when you said holiday is we played Dallas when they had just won the Super Bowl when I was in Cleveland with Bill. And we actually beat them in Dallas on Thanksgiving. And I always remember that game because it came down to the last play. Novacek caught a pass on Eric Turner, hit him on the 2-yard line, and the clock ran out. So I always remember that game.
Yeah. Roman Harper, how about you? Did you guys ever play in Dallas or in Detroit on Thanksgiving?
Yes, we did. Played in Dallas a couple of times and actually ended up beating them. It didn't come down to the last second like coaches, but it's just funny to hear. When you win in the NFL, every win feels like a Super Bowl sometimes, or a playoff win. You're just so jubilated because it takes so much
to win.
That
so hard to win.
The week of the grind is so much you put into it. By the time you win a game on Sunday, you're just elated, and you start the rat race right back over. And but wins come, but it takes so much to win on any given Sunday. Everybody knows it's just so hard.
Yeah.
And anybody can beat anybody. I guess I have one other memory. We actually played in L.A. on Christmas.
Really?
Yeah.
In L.A. And I was coaching in Cleveland. And my kids were little. And I'm sitting on Christmas Eve in the hotel all by myself. And, it's Christmas.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's not right. What's wrong with this?
What am I doing here?
And there's a Santa Claus in the lobby of the hotel wearing shorts or something. Yeah.
And your kids are like 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
That's the business we're in, though.
That's the business.
That is the business we're in.
Coach, just listening to you, just knowing you over the years, the one thing I always appreciate about you is that you never miss an opportunity to teach, and that's what the best coaches are. They're great teachers, and they just know how to get it across to the person that they're talking to. And I just want to know, where did you pick that up from? When you were the same type of player, were you doing the same thing, taking the opportunity to teach or help others out when you were a player of football as well, and not just a coach?
Well, I think that, my high school coach actually used to teach us things all the time. And he would teach us things that even as we were playing, they were lessons of life.
Right.
Like, you probably heard this story before, but when I was a sophomore quarterback, we were playing the last game of the season. We were 8-1, and we had to win this game to get in the playoffs. And we get behind 18-0. We get it back to 18-12. We go 2 minutes at the end of the game. I was 15 years old, and I called the plays. So it came to 4th down and 11 on the 25-yard line, and he called the last time out. And I said, thank God he's going to call this play. I don't have to call this play. So I go over to the sidelines and say, Coach, what do you think we should do? And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, I think you should call this play. That's what I think. and he said, look, I don't care what play you call. He said, you got the fastest guy in the state playing left halfback. You got a 3-time All-State split end. Just make sure one of the two of them get the ball. I called 26 crossfire pass, faked it to the left halfback, threw it ex-post corner, and we won the game. But he said, don't think of plays, think of players. I mean, most people don't learn that until they get in the NFL.
Bravo, Coach. Thank you. It is a player-driven league. It's a player-driven game. The best coaches have the best players, and you just learn how to put them in position to do what they do, which is
That's
play.
right.
Yeah.
And
So
try to lock them up like robots.
But to answer your question, I guess, my college coach, Don James, was the same way. He was always teaching us. Our coaches were always teaching us. And I think that when I was a young coach, I still coached like I was a player. I wanted to have success. I wanted to see my guys have the success. I was pissed off when they didn't have success. But as I got older, I said, every one of these opportunities that they make a mistake is an opportunity for them to learn. And it's the best way for them to improve is when they make mistakes and they learn from them, as you said before, so you don't make the same mistake the next time. And so the older I've gotten and the longer I've coached, the more technical about things I always am in terms of what lessons can we learn from this, technically. Even when we lose a game, there's so much more to learn, and the players are so much more willing to learn it, when something bad happens. So you really can't waste a failing. You have to always be teaching, and that's how players get better.
Oh, and by the way, our crack research department has gone to work. The reason it's tough for you to remember games on your birthday, this will only be the second time in 25 years that you have coached a game on your birthday. 1998 with Michigan State, you beat Northwestern, I believe, 29-5 that day. The only other time you've coached a game on your birthday.
Well, it's so important, I don't even remember it.
Just a little piece of triviata should it come up later in the evening. Palmer one-on-one with Surtain. Here's the inside give. Fumbling the ball is the running back, and it's picked up by Alabama for a touchdown. Eric Gray never did have full control of it, and Malachi Moore, who had an interception against Texas A&M and Georgia, busted it loose, picked it up, and took it to the house for a touchdown. Young Malachi Moore really having himself a great, outstanding freshman year. As we welcome you back, Coach Nick Saban, before we get to your final thought here, everybody talks about Mississippi State's offense, and rightfully so. But they are the only SEC team and one of only 6 teams in Power 5 conferences allowing less than 300 yards a game. They have a takeaway in 30 of their last 33. They have interceptions in 21 of their last 30. This is a potent defense, let alone their offense.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a misconception about this team. They're 357 yards a game passing, which is really good. I don't mean it that way, but
yeah.
They really do have a good defense, and I think they're first or second in the SEC in most categories, in the top 15 in the country in a lot of categories. They play a different style, which is, sort of a little bit of an issue and a problem for in terms of preparation. They play like a 3-3 stack and slide to a 4-man line, but they're doing all kinds of stunning all the time. I mean, they move up front all the time. I'm talking about, and some of it is a little bit unconventional. It's just not angle and slanting. It's a guy coming down, picking the center, a guy coming around. So whether you're running or passing, these things create tremendous challenges. And what they do is they cancel a lot of gaps up front and still try to play split safety coverages, quite a bit, which makes it a little bit harder to throw the ball against sometimes. So this is a challenging preparation on both sides of the ball, and their defense is good. Their front seven is pretty physical. They got some pretty good guys up front. They're active, they run well, and their players really play hard.
Coach, it's that time again for your final word, presented each week by Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
You know, I think that this time of year, and I think that Roman can probably, sort of know what I'm talking about here based on his experiences in the NFL, is, when you get to the 12th game of the season in the NFL, nobody feels good. And this has been a really long season for our players based on the way we had to do fall camp, over 40 days instead of 29 days. And, back-end loaded summer where you weren't working out all summer but had mini camps. So it seems like the season is a lot further along than it really is from a player perspective. And I think that everybody kind of knows that you're not 100% at this point. So your energy becomes so important, because if you have energy and you choose energy as a player, your feelings follow. If you let your feelings dictate how you do things, because nobody's really 100% this time of year. People are nicked up, they got a bad shoulder, they got a bad ankle, they got a bad knee, whatever it might be. And psychologically, you have to be able to overcome that. And I think, the more people are supportive and the more positive energy that players have around them, the easier it is for them to choose energy and not think about what's hurting and all that kind of stuff. And their feelings follow their energy. And I think that's really, really important at this time of the season. I think it's really, really important for us in this game, because this is the type of team that likes to dictate the tempo. They're very aggressive on defense. They're very aggressive on offense. And if you let them do that, that makes them a dangerous team. So we have to be very physical and aggressive in terms of how we play and how we approach this game. And you got to have the right mindset and the right energy to do that. And I think the atmosphere in the stadium is something that goes a long way to help our players. Even though we can't have 102,000 people, the people who have been there in the Texas A&M and the Georgia game, for us and for our team, have had a significant impact on the atmosphere and how the players respond and how the players have played. And I think it'll be important in this game as well.
Definitely so. Coach, thank you. Roman Harper, we're so thrilled and proud of you. You're doing a great job on the SEC Network. Thank you for joining us here tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Roman, I want to say something. When you have players that were great players for you, you have a tremendous amount of respect for those players when you're a coach and you see a guy do things the right way. And sometimes as coaches, we don't ever tell players that. But I can tell you that I know a lot of guys that coached you in the NFL, and I've never heard anybody say anything but those kind of positive comments about the kind of person you were, the kind of character you have, and the kind of competitor you were, and how much they enjoyed coaching you. So just so you know, I'm telling you. All right, buddy? Thanks, man.
And I appreciate that, man. Coming from you, I know that's genuine, because you wouldn't tell me a lie unless you wanted to beat my butt. So it is all good, my man. And thank you guys so much. And, Coach, I'm feeling that about the feelings, not letting your feelings lead, but more of the energy. Choose energy. I agree with that, man. Don't fall for it. Don't be tired. Bring the positive juices, and that's going to get you through those tough practices.
Roman,
keep rolling.
Thank you, sir. I hate to jump out, but we've got to go. Coach, thank you, sir. This is the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.